So let's talk about the deal details and the future. So you guys are raising money. You're not a public company yet.
No.
Is that potentially in the cards?
Yeah. I mean, you find points of weakness with competitors. You see how fast you can ramp revenues. We're trying to grow the lifetime value of the customers who we have, the users, and then also the people who want to reach those users, building in multiple revenue streams, including a big tech push in 24 and 25, just to increase the amount of delightful experiences that people have. If you think of an Amazon model, so many people, including me, are forking out money every month for Prime, and I know that they're adding different components to that experience beyond the shipping discount. I don't have my finger on it always, but if someone is maintaining that sense that they're getting value, then they'll pay. So we want to build up through a freemium model, similar to Duolingo or lots of other platforms where you're learning within that site, you're building community, you're getting reinforced in the learning that you're doing, you're gaining these points that have some value, and then you're either willing to deal with or not willing to deal with some amount of ads to let you use that on a free basis. I'm someone who pays for premium YouTube because I don't even like waiting 4 seconds to skip the ads for how much did I use it, And through partnerships, through the high-level corporate sponsorships, through those local self-purchase ads at the hyper-local level, and then also through the subscription, we're expected to really ramp revenues. I mean, it's your classic Silicon Valley hockey stick scenario.
Yeah, and like I said, this is the opportunity. Yeah, like it's a mainstay in Maryland, and you have inroads in a couple of states as well. But the goal is to go completely national and be in every state. All right, welcome to the Angel Research Podcast. My name is Jason Freert, and I'm here today with a special guest, Sam Hopkins, of former Angel Publishing Research fame. Right? How long has it been since you were here? It's
almost 14 years.
Almost 14 years. Yeah. And so some of our listeners, readers may remember your musings from. What do we have? Wealth Daily. Is that what you mostly wrote for? Wealth Daily.
Energy and Capital.
Energy and Capital. Still going strong.
Orbis Investor.
Yeah. So Sam ran our international newsletter for a while.
And Greenchip International.
Yes. All of the, because you speak what, like 8 languages?
About a dozen, depending on what I need to
get
done.
Right. So you're an international man. So you ran that. And then you decided to move on into.
I went into building businesses instead of
not analyzing
about them.
The hard stuff. So what's your takeaway being away from Angel for so long? Like looking back about because it's always helpful to take a step back and then reassess like what was going on, because I mean you were super young back then too.
I was, yeah. I mean,
still are.
22, trying to stay youthful. I think I'm very grateful that I got an on-the-job education about how companies come to life, about how people invest in changing a reality that, forgive the business school stuff, it was like suboptimal. Like it's just, if something sucks, hopefully there's an entrepreneur who's going to try to change it, or even if it's not a complete disaster, but it could be improved. That these small and measurable changes in the way we live is how you can track the course of history, and that expressing our will through investing or through taking the leap and founding a company is really a meaningful way to affect the world around you. I did not come from any sort of business background. It was because I could write. I was good at seeing what was going on in the places where I was traveling, trying to convey to readers what's exciting, what are some trends that you might want to tap into, and understand what was a play, whether it was a stock, domestic, international, ETF, et cetera, understanding kind of the range of tools that we have to literally place a bet on how we think the future is going to go. I mean, that was all really interesting, and heck, when I hit some home runs with some recommendations, that made me pretty happy too. So
yeah, and it's interesting because we tend to look for the high flyers, like under the radar companies or emerging stuff. And so I'm sure you came to recognize that there's a lot of crap out there, right? It's just like you actually have to investigate and like talk to people and like kick the tires, and especially if it's something that's like in another country.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, is this actually legit? Because some of the reporting requirements and all that kind of stuff. So, so you moved on from that. You got an MBA, right, at Johns Hopkins?
At Johns Hopkins,
okay.
Right here in Baltimore. So
yep, go Baltimore. And in between there, you did a stop on Jeopardy or in Jeopardy? Jeopardy champ, right?
I remain in Jeopardy. I was on Jeopardy. Won 2 games, was on 3, lost the last one. That's how it goes. Fortunately, I'm from Kansas City, and on the last game, it was kind of late May, and you start to get into the time of year where there's always a weather map in the corner of the screen because there's always some kind of storm coming. And before I lost, my friends just saw that I was in the lead, and then there was a severe warning, severe thunderstorm warning, and they're like, "Oh no, what happened?" I'm like, "I don't know." So
I don't know. Just tune in later.
They aired it at 2 in the morning a few days later or whatever, and so I kind of rode off into the sunset. Ended up weirdly having clips spliced together for a bit on Conan. That lives. If you look up Alex Trebek Has Gone Insane Volume 2.
Oh, you're on that one?
Yeah, that's like how. All
right, we'll have to splice this in here, Sarah.
I love Jeopardy, I really do, but I'm starting to think Alex Trebek has been hosting that show too long. I am really afraid that Alex is starting to lose it. I think he's losing it. Take a look.
Gymnastics for 800, please.
Despite a broken leg, Tobey Maguire nailed this Romanian girl with the over 300-year-old reticulated slitherer. Called the Barnes Dance. Sounds like fun.
None for 1600, please.
It's annoying when you blank this female author's blank, but helpful when blank of the blank machines use blank to make slime. Go ahead, make my day. The tree is the willow. The word is willowy. Sam.
Slim for 800, please.
This ugly guy, Will Smith, not the black one, can sometimes track down one of these Irish fairies in this type of marriage. Jack Sprat could eat no fat. His wife could eat no lean.
Especially because people ask me, like, real Jeopardy? I'm like, no, middle school Jeopardy. Like,
well, there's college Jeopardy? I feel like the college Jeopardy, that's the one where I'm like, I know this stuff. All right, this isn't too bad. Or celebrity Jeopardy, it's a little bit easier. So you're on the actual real Jeopardy for smart people.
I was on the actual real Jeopardy for me, who decided to go late to a DJ gig and do the online quiz, and then they had an audition in Baltimore that year. And I guess I was loose enough.
This is probably the first a good time to have this conversation because you're from Kansas City and we're in Baltimore and the Chiefs are coming to town.
They are.
Are you going to the game?
Unless I find a bag of money in the street or a ticket. No, I'll be safe from snowballs at home.
Yeah, so that's cool. And that's also, I mean, sports is the reason we're here because you are now the CEO of County Sports Zone. CSZ.
Correct.
Is how you're doing. And it's
CSZ Network.
CSZ Network. And did you want to sort of, I guess, lay out for people exactly what that is, what they do, or what you guys do, and just sort of the 5-minute, exactly for those who haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is there's at least 17 million high school students in the U.S., and a large number of them play some kind of sport or do a school-based activity. In some cases, PE is essentially being transferred into a requirement to play a sport. Sports helps us develop. It's a way to make new friends, a way to stay fit, and it's something that's meaningful to a lot of families as they follow their kids through their athletic career, which start way before high school, but it starts to really matter a lot in high school.
Right.
And I was a high school athlete in the late 90s, early aughts, and was surprised to learn in recent years and months that not a lot had changed in terms of the availability of information on the internet about most high school sports. It's been a time where, the AP reports that newspapers are dying at the rate of 2 a month, 2 a week even. It's worse, and you can believe that as you go across the country and see the stands that are empty, and that a lot of those same towns with 0 or 1 newspaper are the places where high school sports are a really big part of identity. They're literally the only game in town. There's
Right.
economic activity around them. It's how people, especially coming out of COVID and an election year when things can get tense, this is a way for people to connect organically around the educational institutions in town, around their kids who they've all seen grow up together, and to just be reinforced that they're making a mark in the world, at the athletes level, and that their place is special. So if we think about a Yelp or a Nextdoor, the term hyperlocal is used a lot because it's really that street corner sense of what's going on. In Baltimore, what was that sound?
Right.
Yeah. Or how's it going at the school around the corner? And we see that we could talk about AI, predictive analytics, machine learning, all this, but the information from especially the freshman through junior varsity levels of most sports is not getting sucked up into the internet. It's not getting reported because it's a pain in the butt, and it's kind of a vicious cycle of there not being an easy way to get that information in, to know it's getting online and published, and then the feeling that people must not care. But what we know from a long tail company like Spotify, which is as opposed to the jukebox where you'd see the same hits over and over, is people like Sam Hopkins or someone who has a little music group and can manage to get something up through online distribution platforms. They want to be able to share what they're doing, and that they do have something out there that's available. It might not be top 40, it might not be the varsity, but we want to capture and make available and bring people into that community of sharing sports news from as early an age as possible, honestly, and focusing on high school sports, but enabling trend analysis for how teams do over the course of 4 years. You can see how far the Lions or my Kansas Jayhawks have flipped to where the same group of players is often experiencing wildly different success, and to shine a light on that over the course of time is important, to give people an opportunity to share those experiences, and then to add not only what was the score, when was the game played, but here's who scored the winning touchdown. Even the budding high school sports journalists can contribute insights and highlights. People can play games, saying who's going to win this weekend.
Yeah,
we really want to bring in that whole experience. So that's what we're
it's
doing.
interesting you talk about the newspapers too, because just I as well was a athlete. I'm still involved in youth sports through my kids, and then I run a local wrestling club, and I coached high school for a little bit. And 25 years ago, it was like the newspapers, like the Baltimore Sun here, Washington Post, they had a local sports section, and they would have reporters on staff that would actually like go to these games. If they couldn't make it to the games, they would have someone around that they would have a contact with to get this information. And this, quote unquote, the coaches were supposed to kind of call in the scores to the paper. And I felt like they used to be really good about that, but it just sort of fell by the wayside over the last 15 years. And I think the newspapers cut reporting staff on that regard, and they just, they were focused on stuff they could scale, I guess. And so it really started to slowly die. And I actually, with CZN, CSZ, I'm pretty sure I was on that, using that before you were even involved.
Yeah, for sure.
So because
which is wonderful to
hear.
It's
it was
an
started.
established
Yeah,
fact
it was started. In 2011, 2012?
Yeah, in the sort of mid-teens, and within the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And then really got a reboot in 2019 with a pre-seed investment.
Gotcha. Yeah, so and it was, as I was exposed to it, was the athletic director at the school I was coaching with was like, hey, we're going to use this new platform and you need to, I think he, loaded in the schedules and stuff, but the reporting was like, hey, like, make sure you report the scores aren't here. And it was a platform where you just kind of upload it and you're not like old school calling the newspaper.
Right. Yeah.
Be like, hey, this is XYZ.
So you've gotten to a couple of key points there, which I'll just want to touch on.
Yeah.
So like latency, this,
right.
a computer word. It's just like it's a bummer when something takes a while to go through and hit the button and it doesn't quite happen. So the latency, with time being precious and people doing more and more online, it is crazy that we can't get a game score before the next week, if there is a local paper around, when the kids are flipping on Instagram and getting stuff, or TikTok all the time. And so we have done our best and really succeeded in closing that gap by getting the phone numbers for people like you from the athletic directors.
Right.
Those athletic directors want to get the most scores possible from that school's games into the hands or the eyeballs of the parents, the athletes, and the other fans, so everyone knows where they are in the standings, et cetera. So with a simple text message to that phone number, you actually click. It's much improved actually since you last used it. You click a magic link and enter what was the score for that duel or that tournament. And,
it's pretty incredible because I
system.
still keep up with my local high school, and now that I have kids coming up, they're interested in going to see the games of the high school that they are eventually going to attend. And I Googled their high school, and the schedules come up. I'm like, hey, they're playing a soccer game, tonight at 6:30, and so we just roll up. And then the last game we went to, we actually we left early because I had to get them some food, and then they were like, who won the game? Because I think it was like tied when we left. Right. And I was like, I don't know. So I look it up and on there, and I'm like, oh, like they lost. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, but it was like literally that.
But you
like,
can find out.
Yeah, it was literally that night that it was posted on there. So I know like a couple of years ago, actually I guess longer, you guys had a deal with the MPSSAA, which is the local like Maryland School Athletic Association. So in Maryland, it's pretty solid now in terms of like all this stuff. And we were talking earlier about the next plans is basically to go national, right?
Yeah.
So where are you guys at with that? And I'm assuming that's also why you guys are raising more money now.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've proven the model in Maryland. We've got a great partner in Pressbox here, a sports publication primarily covering Ravens, Orioles, Towson, University of Maryland, local colleges. And what we know is that there is a huge appetite within the advertising community to reach these high school family eyeballs. These tend to be parents who are in the prime earnings period of their career. They want to spend on their kids thinking that this might help get a scholarship. Those students have money burning a hole in their pocket from their first jobs when they're in high school there. They're investing in being successful. They want to know where to get the sports drink before the game and where to eat after the game. And to reach them with those messages is something that's been very important and that has gotten us a lot of revenue from partners from the major leagues all the way to the state of Maryland that want to reach the students in the U.S. Army, with important messages for those student athletes.
Right. So you have advertisers interested. Like you said, the U.S. Army is going to be, nationwide. They want to get to as many young, athletes or high school students as possible.
Educated, able-bodied people.
Right.
Yeah.
Able-bodied. Oh, they don't even have to be able-bodied anymore.
We'd like them to be.
Yeah. But then you also have the flip side, which is the local pizza place, right? Which is going to be like
local level,
right.
Like
so in that neighborhood, that hey, I want to advertise on the pages of these 3 high schools that are surrounding my local shop, and so it's hyper targeted, and it's difficult. A small business owner, it's very difficult to reach those people without printing up a bunch of flyers, or are you going to run like Google ads or that are doing all that stuff. So
it's difficult for the schools also to be reaching alumni all the time. Usually call them at dinner and stuff, with from out of nowhere versus a continuous stream of information about how is your former school doing? How's the team doing? Oh, they won state. Oh, that's really cool. I want to help support that. What we're doing is, we're not charging the schools like a lot of competitors are. We're not going full Wild West with the ads, which if you look, there are high school schedules and scores out there, but good luck finding it in the pile of crud that you get on there.
So you talked about, what are some of the other sites out there that do this sort of thing too, that are quote unquote competitors, or names that maybe people would recognize?
Yeah, so Max Preps is a
Max
big
Preps.
one.
Okay, I've seen them. I feel like were they more of a recruiting side of things, or are they kind of the same? Okay,
you will to the point, kind of the Bruce Springsteen or the Bruno Mars records getting the play. There's a lot of national top 5, top 25. Look at this person. It's Bronny.
Right.
It's the self-fulfilling prophecy of places that generate the future big leaguers and everything, and that's exciting to people. But again, there's a world of folks whose information isn't being captured, and advertisers who really want the organic geographic and demographic targeting that with changes, as your listeners and readers should know, in cookies and the constant battle between privacy and relevant content or advertising.
Yeah, so that's a big
thing
that in general has been a push, and they're actually quote unquote supposed to happen this year, which is basically removing a lot of these cookies and tracking devices on Google. They've been saying it for 2 years, and then they keep pushing it back. But it's supposedly going to happen this year, and so people like privacy. Apple's done the big push on, hey, privacy, hey, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think what people tend to forget or not realize the implications of that is the advertising that you're going to get on the internet is going to become less relevant.
Right.
And when it becomes less relevant, the sites out there need to put more of it up to make the same number of
That's a very
revenue.
interesting point. Right.
So if you are on, let's just say, Facebook, and you're scrolling through and you get 3 ads every, whatever scrolls, and they're hyper relevant ads that you're actually interested in and you're highly likely to click on or buy the product, they don't need to serve you that many ads. But when it's just some random, I don't know, what's the one that everybody makes fun of? Wish ads, or they're the fake stuff out there, you know what I mean? Just a bunch of crap on there. You're like, what is that? And you scroll, but then they have to present you with 5 times as many ads just so you randomly they can make that. Yeah. So I think the user experience, I don't think it is I don't think people are ready for that. And it's already kind of happening, I think. And you see just, like you talked about, those competitors just being overloaded with ads and stuff like that. It wrecks the user experience, and they're just throwing crap against the wall to see what sticks.
So we have an answer to that in the form of our self-service ads, where you can come through our portal, which we have a nice set-aside page, this cszpro.com, for those athletic directors who hear about us. So we're going to say on the in the bordering states around Maryland, we have over 220 schools in Maryland, but about 370 total. So a lot of teams and schools that have played Maryland schools across all 23 counties where we cover, they've said, oh, well, we can get our JV soccer scores up online too if we sign up with these folks. So we're trying as a tech company to make sure we don't have to shake the hands of every single athletic director, but they can come through us. The advertisers, who might be that pizza place or the barber shop or the roofing company that a dad of the kid on the soccer team owns, can advertise as well through us at a favorable rate, know who they're reaching, know that if those kids are in that neighborhood, if these families are there, then they're probably in the market for their pizza or their haircuts or whatever it is, and know that actually 15% of what they kick in for that ad is going to go back to the school. So we become a net contributor to that school community, while also contributing to an experience of sports and a sense of full information about what's going on at the school that is not frantic and dodging ad traffic constantly. It's the best that the internet can do for us, but in a weird old school, more like Yellow Pages way.
Yeah.
In that you kind of you want to know that someone knows who you are. You don't want to be totally spooked by it. But when it hits the spot and you get that offer for a haircut right before Johnny or Lisa's about to go to the state championship game, that's really great. So we can help broker essentially those relationships while keeping everything in the context of something that's really positive, which the advertisers love. Because it's not a billboard you're looking at while you're stuck in traffic. It's not a radio spot right after you found out that someone got shot downtown or whatever it is. It's someplace where we're open and where we're thinking about the future.
Yeah. It's always mostly unless your team just lost and you're really pissed.
Yeah, well, that's interesting too. So we actually have partnerships with Got It Life is an app and platform that we're partnered with that does AI-driven and even user-populated positive self-talk. Not every kid's going to win every game. We really want to be a trusted partner for the whole experience of what it is to be a high school athlete or be one of those families. Or as you said, which is important, high school isn't just these 4 years. It has wings. Kids want to know where they're going to go to high school. And then people, even in the Super Bowl, they say their high school some of the times when they're given their
I always think that's kind of cool. I wonder, I always wonder if the colleges are like, what the hell? Like, why didn't they say that college? You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I think anybody, we talked about, the Ravens Chiefs matchup and, how huge that is. I don't know how much Taylor Swift has to do with that, but sports is huge and it's growing on all levels. Yeah. So anybody that has kids or grandkids know that, all the way down to, 3 and 4 year olds, parents are getting their kids involved in sports and it just goes out from there.
Right. And more than ever, you can get really educated in depth about a given sport without playing that sport. So friends of mine who never played a down of football, like I didn't, my dad played plenty almost in college, but they're calling plays like they're Tom Brady because of Madden. Or, FIFA for soccer, or the show for MLB, all these different ones.
Yeah, the internet really has, it's crazy, the video clips that you can get. And, it's, people really are, I tell them they're really spoiled now because, 20 years ago.
You used to have to wait for SportsCenter to come around.
It's insane. Now we have, our wrestling club, I can watch our guys compete at a tournament in North Carolina streaming live and get the exact and
we have partnerships
insane.
With companies like that too. It's really still, even though it's 2024, pre-consolidation. Max Preps was acquired back in 2006 by CBS.
Yeah, so they were that was another thing. So who acquired them? CBS. And so I know NBC has bought a couple.
Yeah, so Sports Engine, NBC Universal.
Yeah.
That's one of those apps that if you've been a youth sports coach like I have, you've used almost a dozen of these different things.
Yes.
More or less who's bringing snacks, when's practice. But it's not for global publication like ours is, and it's a lot of times those seasons or that storage or the roster of what this was, which was an important time in your kids' athletic and personal development, goes poof. I'm like, is there not enough room in the internet to store this information? So Game Changer was acquired by Dick's Sporting Goods, which when someone's thinking about sports and goes, oh, Jason needs a new pair of cleats, they want them to think of that brand right away. So Dick's Sporting Goods is not a technology company per se, but the business school literature will say every company has to be a sort of a technology company.
For sure.
But what are they looking for? They're looking for eyeballs. They're looking for people who are ready to make a buying decision, and they want to reduce that latency. And even though Dick's might be across town, they'll send them to the online store and say, we'll get it to you tomorrow or whatever. That sense of, that's relevance kind of in the space of let's buy that up so that this is their frame of choices. But we want to have people understand the full sense of of community and the things that help support them in being a happy family and meeting the needs of their athletes. And interestingly, for those, even for a shoe company or sporting goods or whatever it is, currently, if you're a JV field hockey player, you're not having many people come after you. Even those cleats also cost money, and all of your gear and the travel that your parents do and everything adds up. But people are, the companies are trying to inform the choices of the varsity football families a lot more than they are for these other sports.
That was interesting when we had chatted earlier about the ability to target the different sports. And, being involved in different sports, there's a community in each sport that is different. Mm-hmm. In Maryland, the lacrosse community and parents is different
and
than
haircuts.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly. What's the lacrosse is like the perm
cut. Well,
yeah.
Hockey and lacrosse seem to have the mullet as a
the mullet. The mullet's coming back too. In a couple of other, it's coming back strong. I think in general.
God help us.
Well, I was going to ask you if your mustache was a Andy Reid throwback. Or
it can be. I like the interpretations of the mustache. It's like when we say, "Hey, we have the high school sports audience," and we just sit back and let people make of that what they will. So Ted Lasso, I've gotten also a Kansas City area connection with Jason Sudeikis, huge KU and KC sports fan. And then I have played a police officer on TV, but they actually didn't let me have a mustache in there. But I said, it must be a good mustache because I got out of my car and someone thought I was pulling him over.
They had their ID ready.
Yeah, what'd I do? How fast was I going?
So let's talk about the deal details and the future. So you guys are raising money. You're not a public company yet.
No.
Is that potentially in the cards?
Yeah, I mean, you find points of weakness with competitors. You see how fast you can ramp revenues. We're trying to grow the lifetime value of the customers who we have, the users, and then also the people who want to reach those users, building in multiple revenue streams, including a big tech push in 24 and 25, just to increase the amount of delightful experiences that people have. If you think of an Amazon model, so many people, including me, are forking out money every month for Prime, and I know that they're adding different components to that experience beyond the shipping discount. I don't have my finger on it always, but if someone is maintaining that sense that they're getting value, then they'll pay. So we want to build up through a freemium model, similar to Duolingo or lots of other platforms where you're learning within that site, you're building community. You're getting reinforced in the learning that you're doing. You're gaining these points that have some value, and then you're either willing to deal with or not willing to deal with some amount of ads to let you use that on a free basis. I'm someone who pays for premium YouTube because I don't even like waiting 4 seconds to skip the ads for how much did I use it, And through partnerships, through the high-level corporate sponsorships, through those local self-purchase ads at a hyper-local level, and then also through the subscription, we're expected to really ramp revenues. I mean, it's your classic Silicon Valley hockey stick scenario.
Yeah, and like you said, this
is
the opportunity. Yeah, like it's a mainstay in Maryland, and you have inroads in a couple of states as well. But the goal is to go completely national and be in every state.
Yeah, so targeting the Southeast, sort of if we think sports terms, the SEC. So we've had a successful pilot in Tennessee and going back there. Texas, if you think about like Frank Sinatra, like if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
For Texas football,
Friday night lights and everything. And everything that we're hearing is that we really have a different approach. We're really trying to build from the ground up. We're involving students as ambassadors, making sure that the scores get in, make sure that we have added content, that it's a lot of fun for people, cross-pollinating with social media, understanding the linkages in the local economy, really trying to reinforce communities and building something, like we said, a long tail proposition to capture a ton of information. We've got 40,000 games a year that we're taking in and over 500,000 total. So that can feed some kind of analytic machine. I don't know exactly what it is, but we will let the market see what value we present, and we've brought the opportunity locally to high net worth individuals in the Maryland area or nationally, people who understand what sports means, really want to build something unique in this space. And with our team that has successfully exited several companies, our CFO, John Stewart, he was John Douglas Stewart. And it's
he's
spelled
not
with a
from The
U.
Daily Show?
No, he's not that John Stewart, but early pioneer in understanding what online rewards points can be, how those have real value to companies like United Airlines, which acquired the company MyPoints that he was heavily involved with and founded. He's also been like me and been involved on the healthcare research side, trying to help people with cures and diagnostics and everything. But understanding that education is an important place to make an impact, and where a company like this can make an impact on education and how our young people are developing through the prism of sports and stimulating the sports-based community. So the angel investment that we're taking in appropriately for angel publishing is going to allow us to advance and make sure that we're doing the combination of really shaking the hands, pounding the pavement, spreading the word to athletic directors like yours, letting them know that this exists, and letting the families, the students know that they can find these scores, everything easily, and also that we're a technology company. We don't want to have to shake every single hand. So the more that we can bring down that customer acquisition cost, make sure that we're growing our base of users, of page views, of total scores and schedules that we're taking in and reporting. That's going to ultimately increase our value and enable us to really make something wonderful for families of athletes and for the communities around them, while getting the right advertisers straight to those people they want to reach, and the market should reward that.
Well, I'm a user and have been for over a decade now. So if people want to invest or get more information, are they? I guess we can put in the description your contact information.
Perfect.
And
countysports.zone to check out the.
Yeah, we didn't even say the website.
Yeah, so
I don't even type it in though. I just Google like the stuff,
great.
and it's like the first one that comes up for me.
Actually, that's how a lot of folks find us too.
Yeah.
Is that they realize, oh my gosh, my kid's score from last night is online. They frantically search and don't expect to find it, and then they go, there's this thing called County Sports Zone, and so more and more, then they tip off the coach. We should get up and running with this platform. We also have a great iOS app, CSZ, and we have our Pick'em games live through there, which is great. You can select whether you're a parent, coach, fan, administrator.
And no real money is exchanging hands yet.
Right.
You can bet. You can bet on mostly anything now, but not high school sports yet.
From what I understand, it might be true that some people do place bets on high school sports somewhere in the
JV
universe.
volleyball, JV volleyball line. I'm waiting for that. So all right. Is there anything else the audience should know about CSZ County Sports Zone before we wrap this up?
Well, other than that, it's a fast-growing company with real revenues as a technology company. It's not something to sneeze at. We're really being very thoughtful about being a 2024 and beyond company and community that builds value in all the right ways, that's driving people to connect with each other around the sports that they love, about learning about new sports that they didn't know were being played. I did not know that there was bocce ball in high schools until I started, doing this stuff. But for people to feel themselves represented, the same way that you would share a clip of this podcast or something on Instagram that featured you that you're excited about. I mean, it doesn't happen without people, without technology, without companies capturing that activity. And this is really changing the game for how we are all fed the information that we do care about. And I think people are really missing. It's just that this is going to wake them up to realize, how much of that old feeling of flipping and seeing your kid or yourself in the sports page, how much that has been absent from our lives. And like we said at the beginning, that you want to place your bets on the right types of companies that will bring change to the world that you would like to see. And so for a lot of people, this is that.
There's one thing with everything changing so rapidly. I always try to look at like what is still going to be around in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, sports is not going away. If AI takes over all of our jobs and runs the world for us, I think that's all we'll literally be doing. We'll just be watching sports and like movies, and I guess maybe doing some exercise, but like watching and playing sports. So it's not going anywhere. So as far as like, a market that is going to be there long term.
It's not like the old horse and buggy companies.
No, you don't.
Stocks.
It's what you have to worry about. You're involved in a company these days. You really have to look at, is it going to, like, what is the landscape going to be just in 5 years, and can it easily be replaced? You know what I mean? And
creative destruction. Right?
Yeah. And there's not a lot of industries or trends or markets out there that you can really say that about.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'll even say people talk about recession-proof companies. Like, we're a company that survived COVID in a time where our feedstock,
that was insane. They literally were just not playing sports, and then people were, and then they were weirdly playing sports with masks for a period of time when breathing is a
I'll tell you a
is
funny
an important
story
part.
So when I was coaching baseball during that 2021, when I guess we came back and had to wear masks toward the end of the year, so that we could take the masks off some at the end of the season. And I realized that all these kids whose faces I hadn't seen, I was sort of interpolating the bottom of a different child's face.
They're like,
and I'm like, you don't look like Billy at all. I thought you looked
put your mask back on.
It was so strange to see the whole face.
No, I definitely.
And we survived that. And I mean, even that's connected to what I call the Al Bundy or Uncle Rico phenomenon. Like the glory days. People want to relive this. We are not deleting this info.
Yeah, COVID was a big dividing line for a lot of people, particularly in the sports community, because people were like, in the beginning, I think everyone was like, okay, yeah, we'll do this. But then it was just like, oh, well, we're just canceling like outdoor sports, or we're not doing anything. And there was just some crazy stuff that was coming out, and was like, sports where there was no contact, and they were making them do all this weird stuff. So like people were finally like, look, they really care about this more than mostly. They would rather schools be canceled than their sports games be canceled. Yeah. So it was a dividing line, and I think now it's coming back stronger than ever, at least in the local areas. It's just like, everybody's, making sure they're getting involved. And I think it was a little bit of like, you had to like lose it for a little bit to appreciate like how important it is to the community and to like youth development. It was just like
sports can be what keeps a kid in school when everything else falls apart very easily.
Absolutely.
Or keep their grades up or whatever it is. So there is a space in this world. It's an election year again. We're going to be at each other or whatever, but there's a place for thinking about our kids and what helps them to develop and work in teams together. And for most communities, the easiest and most reliable bastion of that is sports. So that's where we're hoping to meet people, and that's the proof is in the pudding about more and more communities getting up and running with us, and we think there's a lot of opportunity in it for everybody.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for coming on the Angel Research Podcast, Sam. Welcome back to Angel for a short period of time.
Thanks for having me.
And anybody who wants to get more information and invest in this company that has pretty high growth potential, we'll put the information in the description.
Appreciate it.
And good luck.
All right. Thanks a lot. See you
Boom.
in the game.
Get in the game.